When we talk about mood in our stories, what we need to be able to consider is what are the details then that help us establish that mood. So let's take a look at Anna Sewell's first paragraph from Black Beauty. The first place that I can well remember was a large, pleasant meadow with a pond of clear water in it. Some shady trees leaned over it, and rushes and water lilies grew at the deep end. Over the hedge on one side we looked into a plowed field, and on the other we looked over a gate at our master's house, which stood by the roadside. At the top of the meadow was a grove of fir trees, and at the bottom a running brook overhung by a steep bank. When it comes to trying to identify how setting influences mood, the first thing to do is, of course, to identify which pieces of setting matter. Now, included in place description can be qualities. For example, a large, pleasant meadow. We're going to say that the description of the meadow establishes the fact that this is supposed to be a pleasant scene. To reinforce the concept of the large, pleasant meadow, she includes another image of a pond of clear water. Now, while there's no word in there that says something like pleasant, a pond of clear water reinforces the idea of a pleasant scene. It's not a pond of muddy water. It's not a pond of scummy water. It's not a pond of stinky water. It's a pond of clear water. Clear water reinforces that idea of pleasantness, of that this is a nice place to be. So I'm going to add that to my description here. Notice too that as I've added my description, I've interpreted what the pond of clear water suggests, which is that it is clean and perhaps even drinkable water. That helps to indicate to my reader that I understand in what way a pond of clear water reinforces the idea of this being pleasant. So let's look for some more details that suggest pleasantness. We have already mentioned that the large, pleasant meadow has a pond of clear water in it. Additionally, shady trees leaned over it. Shady trees suggest a place to be able to get out of the sun. When the sun is high in the sky and hot in the summertime, it's nice to have a shady tree to go under to cool off. So those shade trees, again, even though they're not called pleasant, reinforce that idea of this whole place being a pleasant place to be. Now you'll notice here that I did not say shady trees, but shade trees. I'm paraphrasing some of the evidence from the paragraph. Shade trees provide an escape from the sun, and what else? Rushes and water lilies grew at the deep end. Let's say we don't know what rushes are. Skip it for now. Go to the second image, water lilies. I've adapted my sentence a little bit to make sure that I get the context. Shade trees provide an escape from the sun at the edge of the pond, and flowers grew there as well. If we look up the word rushes and we include what that is, and that helps us to establish our how the setting reinforces mood, fantastic. Is it entirely essential? Not so much here, because the water lilies are going to take the place of what it is that is pleasant. I'm adjusting my screen for you a little bit here. Okay, let's keep going. Over the hedge on one side we looked into a plowed field, and on the other we looked over a gate at our master's house. We could suggest that the plowed field suggests a kind of pleasant state. It is a place of work that's being done. It suggests that this place is being cared for. But let's skip over that just for now. At the top of the meadow was a grove of fir trees, and at the bottom a running brook overhung by a steep bank. At the end of the paragraph, fir trees and a running brook complete the picture of a pleasant scene in nature. Now, what just happened there? By the time we finished analyzing this first paragraph, what we've discovered is the things that reinforce the fact that this is a pleasant place are all images of nature. From the very beginning, we know that Anna Sewell intends for us to imagine a pleasant scene in nature. We're going to add that. Since she describes a large pleasant meadow, which includes a pond of clear water, which suggests that it is clean, perhaps even drinkable. Shade trees provide an escape from the sun at the edge of the pond, and flowers grew there as well. At the end of the paragraph, fir trees and a running brook complete the picture of a pleasant scene in nature. Now let's talk about mood. The mood established by these details is, according to Sewell, pleasant, but we could also call it peaceful, since the images all suggest a quiet space in nature. So what we've done is we've established from the very beginning of the sentence what the mood is going to be, and that is that of it being a pleasant scene. Pleasant is our mood word. Then we go through and we identify several pieces of information that help to reinforce that idea, from a pond of clear water to shade trees, how those provide an escape from the sun, and that reinforces the idea of it being pleasant. Flowers growing there. Fir trees and a running brook complete this picture of a pleasant scene in nature. And then finally, we have our sort of wrap-up sentence here. The mood established by these details is pleasant, but we could also call it peaceful, since the images all suggest a quiet space in nature. That is our interpretation of the details. In order to be successful then when describing how setting talks about mood, we need to talk about both details from the story and specific mood words that we are claiming those things reinforce. Then we need to show that those details about setting reinforce mood. Not just say that they do, but show how they do.